Great. Okay. So I've got a nice little practice worked out for us. You are going to need a brick, and I'd highly recommend your block, because we're going to sit in Virasana, hero's pose. Let's just sit in that for a while, because we're going to center and then do some Ujjayi breathing. So if you make yourself nice and comfortable. So for anybody practicing this who's not online at the moment, then just make sure that you've got a nice comfortable seat. So just however you're going to be sitting. Okay, so we're going to practice Ujjayi. I need to just have an eye on the time. We're going to probably practice it for, I want to say 5 minutes, but I'm just going to sort of judge to see how long that feels, if it feels too long for us. Okay, so and that's the reason actually for thinking about your seat. And if being in Virasana, hero's pose, is not going to be acceptable for your knees, take a different position. So Claire, I know that you're going to need to do that. Okay, find that nice, tall, long spine, and allow the hips to soften down, and imagine that you can feel your tailbone just curling underneath. So that, because what I have a tendency to do is tilt my pelvis forward and accentuate the S in the lower back, and actually that can have a tiring impact on my lower spine. So it's good to sort of let that drop down and soften. I might even try and show you what I mean by this. So I can, if you're not careful, do this. So I've got this sort of real S, and at the moment my lower back is aching. So what I'm trying to do is just let the tailbone soften down. You can see immediately how my back becomes actually kind of straight, more like a tabletop rather than that kink. And certainly it's giving me some relief. Okay, so I'm just going to stay like this for a moment. You can bring your hands onto your lap, and if it feels comfortable for you, you can bring the index finger to the thumb, so that we're creating the mudra, and allow the palms to just rest very gently onto your thigh. And really keep on tuning into what's happening in the hips. So if you're like me and you've been so used to this rocking, tilting over the decades of your life, then to do something different is actually really quite challenging. And quite often it's only at the time when your body starts to tell you that it's no longer happy with what you're doing that we actually become aware of the issue and need to change what we're doing. So just taking that internal focus, becoming aware of the weight of your pelvis, the entire weight of your pelvis, and you'll hopefully feel the sit bones in contact with the block if you are sitting in Virasana, but you may also feel your sit bones in contact with the block when you're sitting in any other posture. And the more we can release the weight of the sit bones into the block, the better, because that means that we are letting go of holding, muscular holding, around the hip joint and into the lower back. And it can almost feel like you are leaning back, but you're not. You're not leaning back. What we're doing is just allowing this tilting of the pelvis and softening down through the sit bones, and then obviously the muscle fascia that covers the pelvis. So once you're satisfied that you've moved and you are in a position where you are comfortable and you're going to be easily able to focus on your breath. We're going to flow into our Ujjayi breath. So beginning to really notice how you're breathing, whether it's easy through both nostrils, breathing in and out through both nostrils. And then we're going to begin to engage with our Ujjayi breath. So Ujjayi. With the Ujjayi breath, we are constricting at the top of the throat. The top of the epiglottis is being constricted. So we want to draw in, get a feeling of really restricting. So that you can hear the harring sound, that oceanic sound. So you want to be able to hear that oceanic sound on the inhale and on the exhale. By hearing the sound, it actually helps you to kind of like locate in the top of the throat where you need to restrict. And it's a soft sound, so it's audible to you. But it doesn't want to be too loud either, because you could be straining. So as I said, we're going to practice this for roughly around 5 minutes. So we've already spent roughly a minute walking into the practice and exploring it. So let's just see how we can go with this breath practice for a few minutes, and I'll just check in and see how that is. So as you rest with the Ujjayi breath, it gives you the opportunity to really soften, become aware of any tightness in the jaw, in the tongue, softening there. You'll also become aware of any tightness down the back of the neck. You can soften there too, into the shoulders. So even though you're softening and relaxing, you can keep that nice long taut spine. And this is the practice of Sthira and Sukham. So the ability to be able to hold an asana, a seat, maintaining softness, but also strength. The two are both needed. Okay, we've just got a couple more minutes that we can rest with this. So watching the impact of your pranayama practice. Just a minute remaining. Okay, so just taking one more round. And then allow your breath practice to stop and come back to the regular rhythm. But notice how you're feeling. Notice the impact of this pranayama practice. It can really help the energy lower and ground. And hopefully what you're feeling is you're feeling softer in the shoulders and just generally feeling calmer and more grounded. Okay, so welcome to this evening's practice. We are going to work with the element of water this evening. Holding that in mind, I thought it was quite appropriate given that we've had a bit of water here. Certainly rained in Bedford, and it looks like it's still going to. So we're going to work initially with Svadistana, bridge pose. So if you would like to come and take hold of a brick and come and lie down on your back, and initially just pop the brick to one side. You're going to use it in a minute. But come into your bridge pose. So find bridge. Just check that the knees are a hip width apart. That tells you that the feet are in the right position. Okay, and then we're going to work with a flowing bridge. So we'll inhale, arms up overhead as we lift the hips up. And as we exhale, the arms come back down as we lift or allow the hips to just roll back down again. See if you can really flow through the spine so that you're rolling through the spine, forwards and back. Okay, so let's begin. 6 rounds, inhaling. Exhale. So taking the full length of the inhale to lift the arms up overhead, and the full length of the exhale to return the back and the arms down to the mat. This is just 2 more rounds. So this is beginning to wake up the spine and the energy in the spine. Into the shoulders as well. Okay, so if you can reach for your brick, pop the brick in between your thighs, long side between your thighs. Okay, just check again that the feet are perhaps close enough to the buttocks. We're going to do the same thing, but this time you really want to be squeezing, holding that brick in place. This is great because it works on the internal rotator muscles within the hip joint. So as you practice this, again, we're going to do 6 rounds. Can you really tune into what's happening in the hip? Notice the sensations in the movement and in the muscle as you lift and lower. Okay, let's begin. Inhale. So I'm hoping that what you'll be able to do is target with your awareness the muscle tissue that's working. Inhaling. Exhale, soften. Two more rounds. Okay, pause for a moment. You can take hold of the brick and remove the brick. And then this time you just want to pause again. Notice the experience. And then lift yourself up for a moment and pop the brick in between your feet. Again, it's a long way. It's the length of the brick goes between the feet. Lying back down, you want to squeeze the feet into the brick. Just check to see if the knees are roughly in alignment with the hips. You don't want the knees to drop out. So we still want to be quite active through the inner thighs, but it's the feet that are doing the work here. Okay, and again, take your awareness into the hips, on the hip muscle tissue, and notice what happens. Inhaling 6 rounds. So become aware of what muscles are being recruited, what's happening. Three more rounds. Okay, just one more round. And allowing the arms and the back to come back down to the mat. And again, just release the feet away from the brick. Take a moment now to experience the practice. So your hips, the hip joint, the muscle tissue around that area, it's all going to feel warm and maybe sensations running through that in terms of energy and that prickling sense of energy. Okay, so the final part of this practice with Sacral is to use the brick to support underneath the sacrum. If you do need to check to see what I'm doing, you can come up and take a little look. But what we're doing is we're going to just pop the brick underneath the sacrum, so that flat part of your pelvis. So you may need to adjust the position. So if this height is too much for you, you can always lower it. So you do want to, I think I'm going to lower mine tonight. I'm going to put it onto the slightly lower version and then lengthen your legs away. And you might need to just adjust again. Lengthen the legs away. Then we're going to bring the arms up overhead. Now this is a really nice stretch because it stretches into the hip flexor. So point the toes. So avoid the feet becoming sleepy. And lengthen out through your arms. Both shoulders are grounding into the mat. Backs of the arms are resting on the mat, on the floor. And it's a soft lengthening away, same with the feet and the toes. Soft lengthening. Breathe into your hip flexors. So what can you do to soften into this area? You might become aware of a tightness that perhaps you've never been aware of in the past or is not always present in your awareness. So breathe into that space. What is it you need to do to maybe find a little bit more opening? It can be that you adjust your legs a little bit. Maybe you need to widen the position of the feet slightly. Maybe you need to breathe and lift into the upper chest just slightly. Maybe you need to let go of the pelvis. Allow the weight of the pelvis to rest into the brick. Really allowing the sensations of letting go, imagining the flow of water rippling over the body, giving yourself the permission to go with the flow of this posture. Just take 2 more rounds of breath here. And on your exhale, bring the arms back down by your sides, gather the feet underneath the knees again, lift up into that soft bridge and remove the brick. We're finished with the brick now, so it can go all the way out to the side. Then roll your back down and bring the knees together, walk the feet out towards the edge of the mat and roll the palms up towards the ceiling, walking the hands, the arms away from the side of the body. So just allow yourself to lie in constructive rest for a moment. So just resetting through the pelvis. Again, noticing any sensations. And I encourage you now to start to use your Ujjayi breath again. So as we move through into this next section of our practice, we're going to embody the idea of flowing with water. The flow of water seeks out the easiest path. So find that in your practice, using your breath, Ujjayi, victorious breath, but it's also, because of the association with the ocean, it's a really appropriate breath to use with this practice. Just take 2 more rounds of breath here. Okay, so you can roll over onto the side of the body and roll up and onto into a kneeling position, or you can roll forwards and back and come on. So however it works for you, just make your way back onto the mat. So we're going to come into a kneeling position. Okay, so as we kneel, we want the buttocks to be on the heels. I'm going to slide the hands down onto the mat. Just widen the knees so they're hip width apart, and then begin to take some hip circles. So scooping the hips out to the right, over to the left, and taking those lovely hip circles, and you can really feel into the round, almost like maybe the corners of the hip, into that lower back. Any sensations, just noting what they are. And take 6 rounds on going sort of clockwise, so just 1 small round, and then hovering and returning to go anti-clockwise for 6 rounds. So really enjoy this. You can allow the shoulders to soften, hands can be soft. Remember this balance between Sthira and Sukha. So a fair amount of weight that's going down through the hands, through the into the hands, through the wrist. Just checking in, making sure that wrists are comfortable, hands are comfortable. And we can always support underneath the hands, the wrist, if you need to, by rolling up the mat. I'm just taking 1 more round. And as you come back to the top, just pausing there. Okay, from here, definitely need to have Hastabandha switched on now, coming into tabletop. And then we're going to lift the leg and take a knee curl. Okay, so inhale, lifting up your right knee, right leg, and then exhale, curling underneath. So 6 on this side. So as we lift the knee, look forward. Exhale, draw the knee towards the nose. So scooping the leg up, gazing forwards, curling under, looking towards the knee. 3 more rounds. Again, noticing if there's any sensations in the lower back or through the wrist. What is it that you might need to do to accommodate and adjust? Just 1 more round on this side. And allow the knee to come down. Okay, switching over, inhaling, lifting up that left leg, curling underneath, looking towards the knee. Three more rounds. One more round. And placing that knee back down again. Okay, just sinking into an extended child's pose for a moment. Flowing with the breath, allow your breath to maintain that lovely, regular Ujjayi rhythm. Now we're going to move up towards standing. And we're going to do a water salutation, which includes a mandala practice. Okay, so press back up into all fours, tuck the toes, come up into a really soft downward facing dog, and then open out through the backs of the legs for a moment just to feel into the calf muscle and the hamstring. Just stay for 5 rounds of breath in your downward facing dog. So nice static, strong posture, using Ujjayi and allowing this posture to open up the backs of the legs. 2 more rounds. And then you can just simply walk the feet towards the top of the mat and fold down into Uttanasana. As you fold into Uttanasana, you perhaps go a little bit deeper and you can feel more opening through the backs of the legs into the buttocks. Just staying here, resting here for 5 rounds of breath. Two more rounds. Okay, and then on your next inhale, press through the feet. Inhale, arms come up wide. And exhale, the hands come down through the midline. Okay, so just taking a moment, we're going to make sure that we're still practicing Ujjayi breath. So, taking your hands down by your sides. Drop into Ujjayi again. Find the center. So press into all 4 corners of your feet. Allow that tailbone to curl under again. So just what we were doing when we were sitting in Virasana right at the beginning. We want that tail to drop, the hips to drop down. You can be soft in the knees. Eyes can be closed or eyes can be open. Eyes are open with a nice soft gaze ahead. Sitting with your Ujjayi breath. Okay, we're going to just take 2 more rounds of breath. And now as you inhale, lift the arms up and gaze to the thumbs. Exhale, float your way down and fold. Inhale, come to halfway, so you can take the hands onto the shins or they can just
Press down on the floor. Okay, exhaling, you're going to step back, right, left, into a plank position. From here, let's come down onto the mat, and you can either come up into cobra or upward facing dog. Coming down to the mat, make your way into downward facing dog. Gazing forward, inhale the right leg high, step it between the front hands and come into a crescent moon shape, so a high standing crescent moon. From there, dropping that back foot and opening out into warrior two. From there, we're going to move through the mat, so come into your five-pointed star. Turning to face the back of the mat, so you're coming back into warrior two this side. Great. Okay, and then from here, sweeping that back arm round, squaring off that back foot, we're coming back into your high crescent moon. Exhale, take the hands down so they frame the front foot, step back into your plank. Come down onto the mat as you'd like to. Inhale, lift into a cobra or upward facing dog, shoulders down the back. Exhale, come down to the mat, tuck the toes, and come back into your downward facing dog. Inhaling, take a breath here, exhale. Okay, so inhaling, that right leg comes high, step it forward. Sweep the arms back up into your crescent moon. Nice and strong through that back leg. Opening out into warrior two. Coming to five-pointed star. Coming back into warrior two, opposite way, so you're now facing the front of your mat again. And then sweeping that back arm round to join the front one so that you can come back into your high lunge. Crescent moon, lift the heart. Exhale, hands come down to the mat. Step back into plank. Come down, knees chest chin or chaturanga. Lift into cobra or upward facing dog. Tuck the toes back into your downward facing dog. And then looking forward, you can either step, walk, or hop your way to the top of the mat. Fold down. Inhale, lift up. And exhale, hands come down through the midline. And just resting the hands at the heart center for a moment. Okay, so that felt really flowing and fluid. So this is the intention of this practice. With the mandala, you've got this lovely flow around the mat. And there's that combination between the sthira and sukha. So really embodying the sensation of flow of water in this practice, allowing it to wash away any areas of tension that might have accumulated during the course of the day. So again, once more, settling back into your ujjayi breath. Six rounds. 3 more. Final round. Inhale, arms above. Exhale, flow your way down. Inhale, lift in a flowing way to halfway. Exhale, this time the left foot comes back and then the right into plank or half plank. Exhale onto the mat and lift into your cobra or upward facing dog. Coming over the toes, stepping into downward facing dog. Inhaling, the left foot comes forward in between your hands. Sweep the arms up and this time drop the back foot and we come into warrior one. Holding warrior one and then on the exhale, open out into warrior two. Tucking that tailbone. We're going to add a little, another posture. So let's come into reverse warrior. Lifting our way back into warrior two and then come into your five-pointed star. Turning the feet, we're back into warrior two, but facing the back of the mat.
Let's take a reverse warrior. Inhale back to warrior two, and then windmill that back arm forward, keeping that back foot engaged and coming into warrior one. Exhale, frame the front foot with your hands, step into a plank. Exhale down onto the mat and lift up into cobra or upward facing dog. Roll over the toes, back into your downward facing dog. Gazing to the top of the mat, inhale, step that left foot forward again. Drop the back foot, warrior one. Bring the hands into Kali Mudra this time. Lift the heart, inhale. Exhale out into your warrior two. Inhale and then exhale into reverse warrior. Lifting back through warrior two and turning long side of the mat with 5-pointed star. Turning the feet, whoops, the opposite way, coming back into your warrior two. Inhaling here and exhale back into reverse warrior. Lifting back through warrior two and then squaring off the hips, engaging through that back foot, sweep the arms up, back into warrior one, lift the heart. Exhale, hands frame the front foot and slide that front foot back into plank. Come down onto the mat, lift up. Exhale, rolling over the toes, back into your downward facing dog. Looking forward, inhale. Left foot steps forward, then the right, or you can hop. Exhale, fold down. Inhale, lifting up. Exhale, hands to the heart. Allow your breath, your heartbeat to settle. Again, just focusing on dropping that tail, so nice and soft through the tailbone. Ujjayi breath. So I'm going to run through this again. And I'd really like you to embody this idea of flow. So really make this nice and meditative. Allow it to feel cooling as well. So just taking 3 more rounds of breath, Ujjayi, but maintaining Ujjayi after this. Once more. And exhale, hands down by the sides. Inhale, take the hands above. Exhale, float your way down. Inhale, lift to halfway. Exhale, step back, right, left, into plank. Come down onto the mat and lift into cobra or upward facing dog. Rolling over the toes, back into your downward facing dog. Looking forward, inhaling, step that right foot forward, come into your high lunge. Holding high lunge. Exhale out into warrior two. Holding warrior two, inhale. Exhale back into reverse warrior. Inhaling back into reverse, into warrior two. Come over into side angle. Inhale, lifting back up, warrior two, and then turning 5-pointed star. Taking feet the opposite direction, find your warrior two. Inhale here and exhale back into reverse warrior. Inhaling back into warrior two, exhale over and come into side angle. Inhale, lifting back into warrior two, and then adjusting the feet to come back into your high lunge. Big inhale, exhale, frame the front feet and step back into plank. Exhale down onto the mat and lift up. Rolling over the toes, back into downward facing dog. Looking forward, inhale, step that right foot forward again, drop the back foot. Warrior one this time on the reverse side. Holding warrior one. Exhale out into warrior two. Inhale and then exhale, reverse warrior. Inhale back into warrior two. Exhale over, side angle. Inhaling back into warrior two, and then coming to your 5-pointed star. Inhaling, finding warrior two again. Exhale, come over and find your side angle. Inhale, lifting back up, warrior two. Exhale, reverse warrior. Inhaling, warrior two, and then adjusting the feet to come into warrior one, Kali Mudra, hands. Exhale, hands frame that front foot, step back. Come down onto the mat and lift up, rolling over the toes and exhaling. Looking forward, inhale, sweep that right foot forward, step the top of the mat and fold down. Inhale, lift up. Exhale, hands come down through the midline. Okay, so we're just going to do one more round, working with the other foot as the lead. So you were leading with the right foot, we're going to lead with the left. Okay, so back into Tadasana. Four more rounds of Ujjayi. Feeling grounded, tailbone dropped. And inhale, lift arms up. Exhale, float down. Inhale, lift to halfway. Exhale, step back this time, left, right into plank or half plank. Come down onto the mat and lift into your cobra or upward facing dog. Rolling over the toes, coming into downward facing dog. Inhale, this time it's the left foot that comes high, step it forward. Okay, drop that back foot, warrior one. Soft through warrior one. Open out into warrior two. Inhale, take an exhale and come into reverse warrior. Inhaling, back into your warrior two and exhale over, side angle. Lovely, inhaling back into warrior two and then lengthen through that front leg. We're coming into Trikonasana. Find a baby Trikonasana. Inhaling, coming back into warrior two to then turn into your 5-pointed star. Take the feet to the opposite end of the mat, coming back into warrior two for a moment, then lengthen out through that front leg, come over and find Trikonasana. Lifting back up, find your warrior two. Inhale, exhale, flow over, coming into side angle. Lifting up, inhale, exhale back into reverse warrior. Warrior two again on the inhale, and then adjusting the foot into warrior one, hands coming into Kali Mudra. As you exhale, frame that front foot, come back into your plank to take a vinyasa. Looking forward, inhaling, the left foot comes high and steps forward. This time we're working with a high lunge. Sweep the arms back up, palms facing, sink down a little bit. Open out, warrior two. Inhale, exhaling, reverse warrior. Inhale, back to warrior two. Exhale over into side angle. Inhaling back to warrior two. Lengthen through that front leg, find Trikonasana. Inhaling, lifting back up and coming into your 5-pointed star. Turning the feet and finding warrior, sorry, not warrior. We're going to go straight into Trikonasana, this side. Coming into your Trikonasana. Inhale, lift back up, warrior two. Exhale, come over, side angle. Inhale, lifting up, warrior two. Exhale, reverse warrior. And then sweeping both arms forwards, finding your high lunge, palms facing, heart up. Exhale, the hands come down either side of the foot. Step back into your plank, half plank, come down onto the mat again and lift up to cobra or upward facing dog. Rolling over the toes, finding your downward facing dog. Looking forward, inhale, you step left, right, top of the mat, or you hop. Exhale, fold down. Inhale, lift up. And exhale, hands down through the midline. And then this time coming all the way down to standing Tadasana. So staying with the Ujjayi breath. Just gradually allowing the heart rate to come back down. Breath to come back. Let the weight of the sit bones and the tail drop down towards the mat. Feeling soft yet strong. Okay, and allowing the eyes to open. We're going to release Ujjayi breath. And we're going to come down to the mat. I'd like us to come down by opening out through the feet. So we come down into a squat. So take the feet out into corners to the diagonal. Bring the palms together. Tuck the tailbone. The tailbone is heavy. The hips are heavy. And then begin to sink your way down into this posture. Find your posture here. You may need to adjust the feet slightly and apply a little bit of pressure to open out into this squat. So remember, if you need to, you can always pop a block underneath your heels to lift up if it's not easy for your soles of the feet to work down into the mat. Nice and long through the spine again, and let the tail and the pelvis be heavy. Just take a couple more rounds of breath here. Okay, and then adjusting the feet so that we bring them so that they're parallel. I'm going to hug into the knees for a moment. And then with a flowing action, see if you can just quite simply take the sit bones onto the mat and roll. And let's just go straight into a simple rolling forwards and back. So that what we can do is we can massage into the whole of the back, but in particular into areas that might feel tender and in need of some massage. So flowing with this, allowing it to be playful and soft. Okay, just taking one more roll. And then coming up to sit for a moment. And unbelievably, we've only got 5 more minutes left of this lesson. So we are going to make our way down onto the mat. So just if you feel that it would be comfortable for you to have bricks underneath your knees today, just to support you in Shavasana, or if you've got a bolster, then I'd recommend doing that so that you can feel nice and released through this lower spine. The other thing that you can do, of course, is to practice in constructive rest instead, which can be a really nice way of practicing. So choose how you would like to finish the practice, aiming for the spine to be nice and long as it lies on the mat. For there to be no pressure around the lower back. And for you to be able to really allow the shoulders to sink deeply into the mat. Lift the head for a moment and lengthen out through the back of the neck. And begin to notice the weight of the arms, how they feel in the shoulder socket. You're able to just soften into this area. Okay, and now we're going to practice ocean breath. So very similar to Ujjayi, but it has a lovely releasing quality to it. So we're inhaling through the nose and exhaling out of the mouth. Each time you exhale out of the mouth, use it as a vehicle for releasing any tension, unwanted energy, unwanted thoughts or emotions. Really allow it to do that. And as you've been flowing through the practice this evening, and you may well have come across areas of tension or tightness, if you come to those areas with curiosity to explore what's actually going on there, you may find that a specific emotion or word arises. And if it does, that's when we can really use the breath to let it go. And each time you breathe in love, a sense of love and a sense of being grounded. So if you haven't already begun, let's begin now. With ocean breath, you can really breathe into the belly. So continue to really focus in on where you can soften any muscular holding. That's the beginning of the letting go practice. So just as much as water can flow, it can also stagnate. It can be still, it can be dark, and it can be deep. And sometimes it can wash over you in big waves, the experience of life. So there'll be periods in your life, and it can be even in the course of a day, where there can be a sense of stillness or peace or ease. And then suddenly there can be a crashing as the tempo changes around you, energy changes. And suddenly you might find yourself in a whirlpool or in a storm. And then it abates when it changes yet again. But just knowing that this is all part of life. And the more we're able to lean into the direction that our life is taking us. So to go with the flow, the easier it will feel. And the more that our physical body will respond. And knowing that our body is made up of at least 70% of water. Really embodying this idea of allowing the flow of life, flow through your limbs of energy, of breath. I'm just going to take a lovely big deep breath. And exhaling out of the mouth. And then returning to how we started the class, but without the bridge element. We're going to inhale and float the arms up overhead and point the toes away. And exhale, allow the arms to float down to the full extent of the exhale. Let's just take several more rounds, inhaling. And exhale, flowing. 3 more rounds. Breathing out of the mouth. One more round. This time, as you exhale, draw the knees up to the chest and give yourself a hug. And then just a little bit of a rock from side to side. Now, when you're ready, you can rock onto the side of the body. Just come to rest there for a moment. And then in your own time, lifting yourself back up and into an easy, comfortable posture. I'm going to bring the hands to the heart center. And take your attention once more to what's happening in the hips and notice if there's this real sort of pushing forward. And I really notice that for me personally. So let the sit bones ground down. Let the tailbone work down, soften down, tuck underneath. Feel the length in the spine, nice and long through the crown of the head. And maybe if it's a familiar experience, what I've just described to you in terms of this, the hips pointing forwards and pushing forwards, you might want to just explore what that means for you in your life. And where are you pushing, where you perhaps don't need to. Just connecting with the breath once more. And let's end the practice by chanting Om. Inhaling. Namaste.